Hi, I'm Emma Rush. I'm joining you today from Halifax in Nova Scotia. For this family-themed concert, I have chosen a piece by Katarina Pratten. And although Katarina Pratten didn't have a traditional family, she was childless and her partner died quite early on, she built a rich network around her of students, colleagues, and friends. And I think there's a lot of different ways to have a family, to be a family. And she chose a way that seems to be extremely rewarding, and she was very, very loved. So this is a piece called A Lost Love by the 19th century composer Katarina Pratten.
Our next performance comes from Kazanlak, Bulgaria. Petya Stavreva has chosen a suite by Bulgarian composer Dimitar Nenov, full of folk elements from her native country.
Welcome to this special edition for the Kiwanis Festival of the Performing Arts. Joining me on Family Treasures is Helen Harrison. Helen, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Helen, you've got a rich heritage in your family here in Stratford musically. So tell us what it was like growing up in the Root household for music.
Okay, well, my mom was Miriam Haynes Root, and she was a piano and singing teacher. She actually had graduated from McMaster and then was sent to England to study piano. And when she was studying piano, they discovered that she was an amazing singer. Excuse me. And so she studied piano and singing in England and then came back, taught for the Royal Conservatory in Toronto, and somehow Dad managed to snatch her up. And they moved to Stratford. I think they got married in 42, but I'm not absolutely certain of that. And no, maybe that's when he started teaching, sorry. Yeah, so she taught for many, many years, and of course had all kinds of piano students going in the music festival. But she
What about
also,
your dad? He was musical as well.
no, not so musical. He was an educator. He taught at the Stratford Collegiate Institute, which is what it was called in those days. That's what it was called when I started too. I'm giving a hint about how old I am. And so he ended up teaching there. And an interesting story about him was when they got back from their honeymoon, he got called up for service in the war. But he had some kind of a physical issue that he felt it would not be good. And the first guy that he talked to said, "Oh, marching on the parade grounds are going to help you out. No problem there." But he saw a second guy and he said, "You're a teacher and you're older. You go back and teach like, you know what." And so he did. He taught a lot of guys that ended up going off to the war. And one of the subjects that he taught was English literature, and he had this book of poetry. And the first class he was given, I guess, he was told, just try and keep them from killing each other. Try and keep them out of trouble, like do whatever you need. Don't worry about teaching them anything. But he had this book of poetry. And one day he was walking downtown and he saw a guy home on leave from the war or from soldier duty. And he was like, "Oh no, like, what's this guy gonna do?" And the guy said to him, "Mr. Root," he said, "I would like to get some more of those poetry books because I read to the boys when we're going to sleep at night." And that was I think, one of Dad's amazing stories.
Your dad has another amazing story, I think, involving a Steinway piano.
Yes. He was a very prominent member of the Rotary Club. He also started the honor dinners, which are for honoring students with high marks. But he thought Stratford should have a grand piano. And so the Rotary Club bought this Steinway. And for a while, we had 3 pianos in our house because we had a studio piano, we had a baby grand in the living room, studio piano in the den, and then the Steinway was in our dining room. I was thinking this morning, I don't know where the dining room table went, but anyway. And at one point, early in the theater days, there used to be a classical concert every Sunday afternoon at the theater. I remember as a child going to those. They were amazing. And Glenn Gould, there was a trio with Glenn Gould, Oscar Shimsky, and Leonard Rose, who kind of were the background, I think, of a lot of the things that went on. And so Dad wanted Glenn Gould to play the Stratford Steinway. Well, Glenn always brought his own piano with him. And so he got talked into coming over to our house to try the Steinway. And I can remember as a child there was a kind of a glass French door between the studio and the dining room. So I can remember sitting there and watching this guy who I knew really nothing about playing the piano in the dining room. And he eventually said, "Yes, I will play one piece on that. I can do this particular sonata or whatever on that piano, but the other ones I have to have my own." So there were 2 grand pianos on stage.
It's very impressive. Helen, you
Yeah.
grew up in a probably in the morning, music was going. In the evening, music was going. You came home from school, music was going. What was it like to actually almost had music was just a fabric of your house?
Well, we'd get up around 6 or 6:30. We'd do our practicing in the morning. There were 4 children. So sometimes there were 3 pianos going at the same time when we were practicing. And then she started teaching around 3, and she would stop for supper. We had a homemaker that came, and she made the supper and looked after us while Mom was teaching when we were young. And then Mom then would start teaching again about 6:30 till around 9 or something. So yeah, it was a pretty busy place actually.
So what was your early connection with the Kiwanis Festival?
Okay, so the Kiwanis Festival used to be in City Hall, and we'd come on. I think there was a little room at the back where we'd, collect ourselves and then come on stage and do our pretty curtsy bow and play. And so I used to play piano for sure in the festival, and also I started taking singing from Gordon Scott at one point, and so I did a lot of singing. And in fact, I actually won Mom and Dad's trophy at one point. And that was when I was already a mother. We had moved back here, and I was taking singing lessons with Anita Ruthig in St. Mary's. And we decided that I should, prepare for something. So I did the festival, and I ended up getting the top 3 aggregate marks. So there you
That's
go.
awesome. What was it like having Gordon Scott as your teacher?
I loved him. He was a great singing teacher. My sister Miriam had taken with him first. And in fact, Gordon's daughter, Miriam, I think is probably named after my mom, but I'm not sure because they were very good friends. And Dad started high school when he was 21, and Gordon was probably 12 and in grade 9, and they were in the same classroom. So that was kind of an interesting connection of our histories.
And then what do you think the Kiwanis Festival, why is it so important to have your work, so to speak, adjudicated?
I think if you have a good adjudicator, and there's various levels, I think, but we usually had really good ones when I was young. They probably still do, sorry. And you get another teacher's perspective on things that you can improve. And so I think that that's part of it. When I was teaching at Romeo School, I would take kids into singing classes. If they could sing on pitch at all, they were allowed to try out for the festival if they wanted to. And anybody that sang, and if their parents wanted to send them, then I trained them. All the different groups learned all the different songs to start with, and then eventually we worked in the smaller groups with the 10-year-olds doing the 10-year-old song or whatever. And there was some really nice experiences that went along with that, and just watching the confidence grow in kids when they perform is really amazing.
So you followed your mom's footsteps and went to McMaster to study what?
I studied English and French. We all went to McMaster, actually. That was Dad's alma mater, and we all had to go to McMaster. So
then how did you develop into teaching more music?
when we moved back to Stratford, because I taught music in elementary school in London. After I graduated from Mac, I came back to Stratford Teachers College. I started my teaching career in London, and I was teaching music as well as grade 5 and 6. And then I went to Divinity College, worked in Christian education for several years in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and then moved to Alberta. And I was in a Bible school out there, and I worked some with the kids that had to be in the choir who couldn't sing. We called them tune-ups. That's what the music director called them, was tune-ups. And I tuned up all their voices, and just using the same methods as I did for little kids in the elementary system. And real proud moment for me was when one day one of the boys sang a solo in chapel time. And that was just really exciting. But when we moved back to Stratford, when my parents were getting older, I ended up teaching piano and singing. I had a class of 42 students come to my home, and my kids went through the same thing, had a babysitter for while I was working and or teaching. And then I ended up getting a job at Romeo School, and went from there, teaching music for most of my career.
Yeah, beautiful. Helen, just in summary, it's the 95th anniversary of the Kiwanis Festival. Why is it so important still today?
I think it's still really important because it gives the kids that positive experience where they push themselves to grow, to reach a goal, and they get feedback from a professional that can help them along their way.
Helen, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for your musical family treasures here in Stratford.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and have a great day.
You too.
Hello, my name is Arianna Riedl, and today I will be singing Journey to the Past from the musical Anastasia. And this song connects to our theme of family because as we go through our journey in life, we always have a family to help guide us and help shape us into who we become. Heart, don't fail me now. Courage, don't desert me. Don't turn back now that we're here.